Are you struggling with creative block? Maybe now through my research, I have the secret to unlocking your creativity and building your well-being all at the same time. Let's dive in and see what I found out through my own experience, and that a lot of artists or women go through. My audience is almost all women. I have a few males out there and they could be struggling from this too. So I've made some notes. I'm going to tell you my experience and let's get started. Okay, so hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I haven't been on here for a while, but I made a community post that I had come down with something and I actually, couldn't bounce back. And, I thought, oh, I was just tired, and I thought, oh, I just can't bounce back. I can't get my energy back. And it got to the point to where I didn't even want to paint. And I thought that I was just going through a creative block. Have you ever had one of those? You're not alone if you have. We always watch YouTube videos where we're going through a creative block. We can't think what to paint, or it's just not hitting us right, and I thought that's just what I was going through. But today I want to dive into something that might surprise you a little bit, and how something as simple as your diet and your health, specifically iron, could be the key to unlocking your creativity. So I'd like to explore, a connection between health and your artistic flow. I've got some notes over here so I don't forget everything. And as I do this, I'm going to do something simple as swatching and mixing video or painting, just to not take up too much brain space. So here's what happened to me. I was not feeling good, got a cold in the winter, and, usually I can push through those pretty well, and I just couldn't bounce back. Went to the doctor, did the regular blood work, everything was fine, and then, I started experiencing other symptoms. Not just fatigue, but achy joints and what else? Restless leg, mostly. And it was just really starting to, I couldn't even relax. Couldn't even sit at my desk and paint because I just didn't have, my legs just wouldn't stop, I needed to move them. So went back to the doctor and was telling him, and he said, well, there's a pill for that, and it's, you take the pill and your restless leg goes away. So where was I? So, okay, so my legs were restless and they wanted me to put on Requit, but I told him before he came in here, because it's a new wellness group type thing, and I said, I've been to another doctor before. She gave me that medication and it made me sick to my stomach. So I said, that's a hard no for me. And so he said, okay. And then he was a new physician's assistant that was running a wellness clinic. So he said, well, let's try checking a couple other things in your blood. So he did, and he started talking about ferritin, and, I went to my primary care, and she did a blood panel, like a vitamin panel, and there was, a lot of my blood work was off. My hemoglobin was going low, my hematocrit was going low, just all kinds of things. My, red blood cell formation was off, and, just all kinds of different things. So I had to figure out what was wrong with me. Something was wrong with me. So you start worrying, and he did a ferritin level, and it came back that my iron was low. So I'm not talking just mildly anemic. I'm talking that it was supposed to be between 50 and 75, and it was 4. So he said, let's replace this iron, and let's go to your primary care, and we'll go back. So the very next day I had an appointment, my annual appointment for my woman doctor. So she took the bull by the horns, and she started ordering some tests and talking to me and telling me, well, usually when your iron's low, you have to rule out other things like bleeding. So in the meantime, we're getting set up for, some of those preventative health type of things. And we'll get you on some iron. So I didn't need to be on Requip. And he had told me that, you replace the iron and the restless leg goes away. And it did. I started taking iron and ferrous sulfate, and the restless leg went away, and the brain fog started to lift. I started getting the desire to paint back, and then I started asking ChatGPT on ways to take this iron, because everything blocks iron. Coffee, you can't take it with coffee. You can't take it with calcium. You can't take it with dairy. It's very hard to get iron absorbed into you unless you do it a certain way. It helps if you got vitamin C, and it helps if you have on an empty stomach. So I was worried that I was going to get sick to my stomach, but my body must have needed it so bad that I didn't get sick to my stomach at all. So, and I started feeling better. And I was having a lot of things. I was having skin changes, on my face, and I was having, dryness. There's ringing in my ears, really non-specific symptoms. But one of my main things was having the energy to paint and make YouTube videos. I just couldn't do it. So I thought, I've got to get this under control. So I started figuring out what was rich in iron, because I had kind of went on the keto diet thing and cut out carbohydrates and breads and everything. And my mom was worried. She said, oh, you need your grains. And so I started looking for iron-rich foods, Cheerios. And, there's a reason that people ate oatmeal and Cheerios and cereals with bananas and all kinds of good things like that. So, I started to feel better. And I had a blood test just the day before yesterday, and my iron has went from 4 to 40. So I am feeling a whole lot better, but I knew I was feeling better before I even went to the doctor. So I was so happy when my desire to paint came back, because, this is what I love to do. And it's where I can lose myself and get into the flow state and, make YouTube videos and just really, really enjoy the process. I'm not by far an artist that's going to sell work and make a whole lot of money, but I just got monetized on YouTube, so I was really excited to keep going, but just couldn't. So I'm so glad if you're watching this. I hope you get a lot from this video, and just stop for a second and hit the subscribe and like button and continue. I'm going to refer back to my notes, and like I said, I didn't realize, that iron played such a crucial part, but it's what carries oxygen to everywhere. And if you're low on iron, some people just say, oh, I'm anemic. Well, if you're anemic, you better be getting it checked out, because you're going to damage yourself, in more ways than one. And, another thing, it affected my heart rate. I couldn't sleep at night. I'm going to try mixing that dioxazine purple with this Naples yellow. Just to see. It should go neutral or mute. So, but, I just thought I was burned out, and needed to take a break. However, it was something physical. So, you can't just get lost in your creative process and forget about you. You have to take care of you, or you can't go on. A couple times I went to the doctor and they just said, well, it's age, because I'm almost 62, and they said, well, it's age. And I just refused to accept that. It just wasn't normal for me. Definitely see your healthcare provider, but advocate for yourself, because if it's taking you down and taking you down fast, you really need to, just take charge of your health and don't take no for an answer. And a lot of, thing I learned was asking ChatGPT questions, about this and that. And she would give me the answers, because I got her set on a woman's voice. And then I'd take it to the doctor. And I had a physician's assistant that was very open-minded, and he was the one that ordered the ferritin level, which is very important for women especially. Men don't lose iron as quickly as women, because I went to see a rheumatologist also, and he said, sometimes women's storage, ferritin is the stores, get low, and you just have to replenish that storage, and it'll start making you feel better. So, but something so simple as improving your nutrition and what it can do for your creative process, I just couldn't believe it, because then all of a sudden, once my iron levels started going up, I thought, oh, I wonder about painting this. Or I'd see things more clearly as I was driving to my appointments and looking at the trees and seeing the blooms outside, and thinking, oh, I'm going to go back and paint that. It was just, I had a renewed focus, and I could sense the difference in the way I was thinking. So my thinking went from doom and gloom to positivity and excitement, and because my body had the energy and clarity it needed to support that creative flow. Now I can enjoy just really enjoy just even doing swatches, because I didn't even enjoy swatching, and I love to swatch. So, I couldn't make a flower, and I just thought, oh, I'm going to let my viewers know that, I'm down and about, and I've got 300 videos out there, so, try to go watch some of them. And I don't know why, but that Daniel Smith Reds video is one of my highest videos in my library. So, this red and green makes a really pretty dark, cool neutral. I love that. And then you can poke a little red in there. This is a B watercolor book, I believe. A Be Creative, B paper. Yeah, Be Creative. I'll link it in the description below. And I am using my Princeton Kolinsky sable brush. Some people may not like that, but I have it, so I'm going to use it. And I'm going to enjoy using it because it is a nice paintbrush. So, another thing I have to say, I really had to pay attention to when I was taking my iron. It was kind of disruptive, but I did what I was supposed to do, taking that iron with a vitamin C tab on an empty stomach. And you just have to wait an hour before you eat anything. And you can still have your coffee. You just kind of have to space it out a little bit to make sure everything gets absorbed in your body well. So, maybe it's my time to take a closer look at your health. If you're feeling drained, I've seen a lot of people drop off of YouTube lately, and I really like their videos, and so I hope this helps a lot of people as far as, just questioning. And, if you're not getting the satisfaction you need from one doctor or nurse practitioner or, even a wellness clinic, then seek out another opinion or demand, I'd like you to do this. And because they have a different rules by insurance companies that they have to follow. And a lot of times they get paid per patient. And so they try to cram a lot of patients in per day. And that is, leaves you limited time to have a conversation. So I encourage you to go prepared. And, when I said, I am not enjoying painting anymore, and they said, well, you're depressed. And, no, I'm not depressed. Something's going on. So you have to advocate for your own health. Now, if you are depressed or if you have a history of that, but I don't, I don't have a history of depression. I do have a history of anxiety, but it's improving with replenishing my iron. So it goes to say that some of these things may be something in your body, a nutrient. I was low on vitamin D too. And that could be my own fault. But see, it all works together. Just like, French ultramarine, works with red to make purple. Iron works with, vitamin D helps metabolize everything, and B12 helps metabolize. You just have to, especially in older women, you just have to be diligent on, getting out and getting your 15 minutes of good sunshine a day. If you can't get out and get your good sunshine, then you might probably need to take a supplement. So, and I'm not advocating any supplements or anything. You just have to get with your doctor and, come up with a plan. And, once those values and hard evidence was in place, and, I had the iron supplement and I was improving, they're listening to me now. So, and I'm having a conversation with them. So, yeah. So if you enjoyed this video and, you know that the creativity isn't just something that's, you're having a creative block and blah, 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 it requires energy and clarity, and it starts with taking care of your body. If you feel like you've been creatively stuck and then physically drained, listen to your body. Make some small dietary adjustments, like switch from, eat some Cheerios in the morning. It's got a lot of nutrients in it. We looked it up. What cereal is the best nutrient-packed cereal? And it was Cheerios, and then they have a new, they have a new line of Life cereals, Life, L-I-F-E, and one's like Immune Health, and a whole new healthy fortified cereal. So, I hope this video was helpful to you, and if you have any questions, let's get a conversation in the comments below, because I think that we could help each other with doing these things. And don't forget to go to ChatGPT, and if somebody else learns from a search that you did, that would be worth getting a conversation going. And if you want to know more specifics about the iron level and more information, I can give you some hints on some good nutrient-rich iron-based foods that you can, get into your diet, and they're delicious. So let me know. We'll do some painting. Bye.